In 1996, the internet was expanding like a city without streets. New pages appeared across universities, companies, and home servers, but finding one meant guessing where it might be hidden. AltaVista changed that. Its machines crawled millions of pages, searched their full text, and returned results with a speed competitors could not match. It became the engine behind Yahoo and one of the web's busiest gateways. The advantage looked permanent. Yet AltaVista's owners saw search as only the beginning. They began building news, shopping, email, and entertainment around it. While they widened the doorway, Google learned how to improve the path. The Internet of 1995 did not resemble a library. It resembled a city raised overnight without streets, signs, or a reliable map. New pages appeared across university servers, corporate networks, research laboratories, and personal homepages. Information was multiplying, but discovery remained trapped in a slower age. Knowing that a document existed did not mean anyone could find it. Human-edited directories tried to impose order. Editors reviewed websites, wrote descriptions, and placed them into categories. The method worked when the web was small enough to inspect by hand, but the number of pages was rising faster than people could classify them. Every new branch produced more branches. The catalog was aging while it was still being written. Inside Digital Equipment Corporation's research laboratory in Palo Alto, the problem looked mechanical. Rows of DEC alpha computers stood beneath fluorescent lights, their cooling fans pushing warm air through the room. The machines were powerful, but most customers could not see the significance of faster processors hidden inside metal cabinets. Engineers needed a demonstration that made computation visible. Louis Monnier began building a crawler, capable of crossing the web automatically. Michael Burrows helped develop the indexing system that would store and search what the crawler found. The program was called Scooter. Scooter followed links. It opened a page, copied its text, identified every connection leading outward, and moved to the next address. Each page became a doorway to several more. The crawler worked without sleep, crossing from university papers to company documents, from technical archives to personal sites. When pages changed, it returned. When new links appeared, it followed them. The web was not a fixed territory. The map had to rebuild itself continuously. The collected text flowed into an index running across DEC's hardware. Earlier search tools often depended on page titles, brief descriptions, or manually selected keywords. AltaVista searched the words inside the documents themselves. A user could type an obscure name, a phrase from a research paper, or a technical expression buried deep within a page, and receive a direct path toward it. The interface looked almost too simple for the machinery behind it. There was a search field, a button, and little indication of what happened after the query left the screen. Inside the servers, the words were compared against an index containing millions of pages. Matching documents were gathered, arranged, and returned through connections that were slow by modern standards, but startlingly fast for the time. A directory asked users to browse someone else's organization of the web. AltaVista allowed them to ask for what they wanted. The difference was immediate. AltaVista opened publicly in December 1995 with an index of roughly 16 million pages. At the time, the figure seemed enormous. The service received hundreds of thousands of searches on its first day. Traffic rose as users discovered that Alta Vista could reach documents other engines missed and return them in seconds rather than minutes of browsing. Its power was not limited to casual searches. Exact phrases could be isolated. Terms could be excluded. Results could be narrowed through advanced operators that gave experienced users control over a rapidly expanding mass of information. AltaVista did not merely make the web searchable. It made searching feel like a technical instrument. The service spread because the benefit required no explanation. A user entered words. The servers moved through the index. The answer appeared. The same hardware that had been difficult to advertise now demonstrated its strength with every query. The demonstration became more famous than the computers it was built to promote. By 1996, AltaVista stood among the dominant search engines on the Internet. Yahoo, whose directory depended on teams of human editors, selected AltaVista to provide results beyond its own categories. When Yahoo's visible shelves ended, AltaVista searched the warehouse behind them. The partnership placed DEC's engine behind one of the busiest entrances to the web. Millions of users encountered AltaVista's results even when they did not visit AltaVista directly. It possessed the crawler, the index, the computing infrastructure, and a position inside the habits of early Internet users. The bottleneck appeared to have vanished. Information no longer needed to be remembered by location. People could search by meaning, phrase, or subject, and let the machines recover the address. Yet the achievement carried a contradiction that traffic numbers concealed. AltaVista had not been created as the central product of an independent search company. It lived inside a manufacturer whose business was selling computers, servers, and enterprise systems. Engineers viewed the service as a growing technical organism. Users viewed it as the entrance to the Internet. Corporate leadership still saw it partly as evidence that DEC hardware could perform extraordinary work. Every search increased AltaVista's value, but it did not answer what kind of value the company owned. Was it a public service that strengthened the DC brand? Was it a media destination? Was it software that could be licensed? Was it the foundation of an entirely new business? Each answer demanded a different organization, a different source of revenue, and a different definition of success. For the moment, the machinery continued running. Scooter crawled. The index expanded. Queries arrived from around the world. Growth made uncertainty look harmless because the engine was still winning. But the web was beginning to reward companies that understood not only how users arrived, but what made them return. AltaVista had built the machine that could find almost anything. It had not yet decided what that machine was for. AltaVista's success created a problem its engineers had never designed the system to solve. Millions of people were arriving, typing a query, receiving an answer, and leaving. The engine performed with mechanical precision, but the business surrounding it had no fixed shape. Inside Digital Equipment Corporation, that uncertainty grew more serious. DEC had once defined the mini-computer era, but the market was shifting toward cheaper servers, personal computers, and new forms of networked computing. AltaVista attracted attention from around the world, yet attention did not repair the larger hardware business. The search engine was expanding inside a company already fighting for its own survival. The contradiction was visible in the traffic. AltaVista behaved like a major internet destination. D still treated it partly as a demonstration of what DC machines could do. Then ownership changed. In 1998, Compaq acquired Digital Equipment Corporation. AltaVista passed into a new organization with new executives, new financial expectations, and a stronger desire to convert its audience into revenue. The crawler survived. The index survived. The purpose became less stable. Compaq understood that AltaVista had grown beyond a laboratory project. It invested in the name, secured the altavista.com domain, expanded marketing, and pushed the service before a larger public. The search engine gained a clearer identity outside DEC's hardware business. But the internet economy was changing around it. The most celebrated companies of the late 1990s were not described as tools. They were described as portals. A portal promised to become the user's entire starting point online. It offered headlines, weather, finance, shopping, email, chat, entertainment, and directories gathered on one screen. The logic appeared powerful. Search helped users leave. A portal gave them reasons to remain. More time on the page meant more advertisements. More services meant more partnerships. More destinations meant more chances to turn traffic into money. Yahoo seemed to prove that a homepage could function like a digital city center, with every road beginning beneath one brand. Executives across the industry copied the model. AltaVista began adding weight. News appeared around the search box. Shopping links followed. Financial information, communication tools, directories, personalized channels, and entertainment services filled the page. Each feature addressed a real demand. Each could be defended in a meeting. Together, they changed the machine. The original service had offered a clean exchange. A user entered words. AltaVista searched its index. Results appeared. The new service placed more steps, more signals, and more decisions around that exchange. The bottleneck had moved. AltaVista no longer struggled to collect the web. It struggled to keep the path between the user and the answer clear. This was not an obviously reckless decision in 1998. Search advertising had not yet matured into the economic system it would become. Portal companies were receiving enormous valuations. Investors rewarded breadth, traffic, and the promise of becoming indispensable. A search box alone looked too narrow for the future executives believed was approaching. AltaVista's owners were trying to protect the company by expanding it. But every expansion required machinery of its own. News required editors and agreements. Shopping required merchants and databases. Email required storage and support. Personalized channels required design, engineering, and maintenance. More services created more departments. More departments created more priorities. The company that had once focused on crawling, indexing, and retrieval now had to compete across several businesses at once. Search did not stop improving, but it no longer stood alone at the center of the organization. Engineers still expanded the index and refined the system. Yet their work competed for money and attention, with projects that had little connection to finding the best page. The corporate structure shifted again. Compaq prepared AltaVista for greater independence, then sold a controlling interest to CMGI, an internet investment company assembling a portfolio of web businesses. The move promised capital, speed, and freedom from a hardware manufacturer. It also introduced another owner with another vision. CMGI wanted AltaVista to become a major destination capable of challenging Yahoo, America Online, and the other gateways competing for the opening screen of the Internet. Acquisitions broadened the offering. Partnerships added more services. Marketing pushed the brand beyond search. The homepage increasingly resembled a digital department store. Every channel offered another aisle. Every link created another commercial opportunity. Every new feature also competed for attention before the user typed a single word. Traffic remained large enough to hide the danger. AltaVista still processed enormous volumes of queries. Its name remained familiar. Its infrastructure remained powerful. From the outside, the company still looked like a leader adapting to a changing market. But the definition of excellent search was changing. The web was growing more commercial, more crowded, and easier to manipulate. Pages repeated popular terms to attract ranking systems. Index size alone could no longer guarantee useful results. Engines needed fresher crawling, better authority signals, stronger relevance, and a clearer way to distinguish important pages from pages merely designed to look important. Every technical advantage required continuous renewal. AltaVista had mastered scale first. It had proven that millions of pages could be crawled and searched. But scale was becoming the floor of the industry, not the ceiling. Far from the company's rebuilding AltaVista as a portal, two Stanford graduate students were studying the problem from the opposite direction. They were not asking how many services could fit around a search engine. They were asking why one result deserved to appear before another. AltaVista was widening its surface. The next competitor was drilling into the structure beneath the web. At Stanford University, Larry Page and Sergey Brin approached the problem from a different direction. AltaVista had already proven that the web could be collected at scale. Millions of pages could be crawled, copied, indexed, and searched. The harder question was no longer whether a page could be found. It was whether the right page could be found first. Early search engines depended heavily on words. If a user entered a phrase, the system looked for pages containing those terms and tried to determine which matches belonged near the top. The method worked when the web was smaller and less commercial. As websites multiplied, it became easier to manipulate. A page could repeat popular terms, hide keywords, or arrange text to appear more relevant than it actually was. The index could see the words. It could not easily see authority. Page and Brin looked at the links connecting one page to another. A hyperlink was more than a route across the web. It was also a decision. Someone had chosen to point readers toward another document. That choice could be treated as evidence. Their system began counting those choices, but simple counting was not enough. A link from an important page should carry more weight than a link from an obscure one. Authority could pass through the network. Pages recognized by other respected pages rose higher. The web became not merely a collection of documents, but a structure of relationships. The ranking method became known as PageRank. Its mathematics remained hidden from ordinary users. They experienced only the result. A useful page often appeared near the top. Searches required fewer revisions. The engine seemed to understand what mattered, even though it was measuring links, patterns, and probability rather than meaning in the human sense. Google was not the first company to crawl the web. It did not begin with AltaVista's hardware, traffic, or brand recognition. Its advantage emerged from narrowing the problem. AltaVista had asked how much of the web a machine could search. Google asked, how well the machine could judge what it found. The contrast appeared most clearly on the screen. AltaVista's homepage was filling with channels, headlines, shopping links, financial information, directories, and communication services. It resembled a digital terminal where many businesses competed for the same space. Google offered a logo, a search field, and almost nothing else. The emptiness looked unfinished. It was actually part of the mechanism. Pages loaded slowly through dial-up connections. Every image, module, and advertisement added delay. Google's sparse design reached the user quickly. The search field was obvious. The path from question to result contained almost no obstruction. AltaVista gave users more destinations before they searched. Google reduced the distance to the answer. This was not merely an aesthetic difference. It reflected two corporate architectures. AltaVista was becoming a portal whose search engine supported a larger media business. Google was becoming a search company whose other decisions existed to strengthen the engine. That concentration shaped how resources were used. For AltaVista, improvements to crawling and relevance competed with news services, shopping partnerships, email systems, and portal design. For Google, the same improvements were the business. Search markets punished divided attention because users could compare engines immediately. There was no machine to replace, no software to install, and no contract to cancel. A dissatisfied user only needed to type another address. Small differences in result quality accumulated into habit. A person searched for a technical paper and found it on the first attempt. The same person returned later for a company name, a medical term, or a forgotten quotation. Each successful query strengthened confidence in the next one. Users began recommending Google because the recommendation could be tested within seconds. Quality became distribution. There are later accounts that Page and Brin approached established internet companies about licensing or selling their technology. The details differ, and no single rejected meeting explains what followed. The important point is broader. Many portal companies treated search as one feature among several. Google's founders treated it as the organizing layer of the internet. That belief allowed them to keep refining the same loop: crawl more pages, evaluate links, improve ranking, return better results, and attract more users. Every stage fed the next. By the year 2000, the reversal reached one of the web's busiest entrances. Yahoo had once depended on AltaVista when its human-edited directory could not supply an answer. Now Yahoo selected Google as its search provider. Millions of users began receiving Google's results through the same company that had previously helped establish AltaVista's reach. The meaning was larger than a partnership change. AltaVista had once searched the warehouse behind Yahoo's visible shelves. Google was now replacing it inside that machinery. Distribution accelerated the shift. Users encountered Google's name beneath Yahoo searches, then began visiting Google directly. The unfamiliar academic project became a recognizable service. Recognition produced more searches. More searches produced more evidence about how people used the system. AltaVista did not stop working. Its crawlers still moved. Its index still contained millions of pages. Engineers continued improving the technology. But the company was no longer defining the standard by which search was measured. Speed had become expected. Scale had become expected. Relevance and simplicity were becoming the new advantage. The market had moved from asking which engine could find a page to asking which engine could place the correct page first. AltaVista had built the machinery that opened the searchable web. Google was building the machinery that ordered it. The challenger did not defeat the leader by constructing a larger portal. It defeated the leader by protecting the task the leader had stopped treating as sacred. By the time Google became a familiar name, AltaVista had already begun losing control of its identity. The engine still searched the web, but it now lived inside a sequence of companies that viewed it less as a mission than as an asset to be repositioned. Under CMGI, AltaVista was expected to become the center of a broad internet empire. Capital arrived, marketing expanded, services multiplied. The company prepared for a future in which traffic itself seemed capable of becoming a permanent business model. Then the market collapsed. When the dot-com bubble burst, companies that had been rewarded for growth were suddenly judged by revenue, cost, and survival. AltaVista's expanding portal became heavy. News channels required content. Shopping services required merchants. Communication tools required storage and support. Every feature that had once promised opportunity now carried an operating expense. The bottleneck moved again. AltaVista no longer lacked users. It lacked a stable reason for all the machinery surrounding them. The company began retreating from the portal strategy. Pages were simplified. Peripheral services were reduced. Management tried to restore search to the center of the product. But the return came after Google had already claimed simplicity as its defining advantage. What once might have looked disciplined now looked late. The deeper loss could not be corrected by removing a few modules from the homepage. Search quality was not a switch that could be turned back on. It improved through years of concentrated engineering, user behavior, ranking experiments, and distribution. Google had spent those years refining the same loop. Better results attracted more users. More users produced more searches. More searches revealed how people phrased questions, which links they selected, and where the engine still failed. Each improvement strengthened the next. The product generated the information needed to improve itself. Momentum had become infrastructure. AltaVista still possessed valuable technology. Its engineers had helped establish large-scale crawling, full-text indexing, rapid retrieval, and advanced query tools. But technical capability no longer guaranteed independence. The machinery could survive even while the organization around it disappeared. In 2003, Overture acquired AltaVista. Overture had built its business around paid search advertising. It recognized that a query was not merely a request for information. It was also a signal of inattention. Someone searching for a camera, a hotel, or a legal service was revealing what they might do next. This model connected revenue directly to the act of searching. Later that year, Yahoo acquired Overture. AltaVista entered Yahoo as one property inside the transaction. The relationship had completed a circle, but the positions were reversed. In 1996, Yahoo had depended on AltaVista to search beyond its directory. Now Yahoo owned what remained of AltaVista. The service continued online, but its independence weakened. The familiar name still appeared above a search field. Beneath the surface, however, the technology increasingly belonged to Yahoo's broader systems. AltaVista survived as a brand after much of the machine that defined it had been absorbed elsewhere. This was how the pioneer faded. Not through one catastrophic failure. Not because the crawler suddenly stopped following links. Not because the index collapsed under the weight of the web. AltaVista declined through a chain of decisions that appeared reasonable when viewed separately. DEC treated search as a demonstration of hardware. Compaq treated it as a media opportunity. CMGI treated it as the foundation of a portal empire. Overture treated it as an acquisition. Yahoo treated it as a legacy property. Each owner recognized value. None protected the original mission long enough to rebuild leadership. Google connected its business model to the same action it was trying to improve. Advertising appeared beside the search results, rather than replacing them with unrelated destinations. Better search created more users. More users created more queries. More queries created more commercial opportunities. The engine funded its own refinement. AltaVista had tried to monetize attention by surrounding search with additional services. Google monetized the search itself. One strategy placed more layers between the question and the answer. The other made the route toward the answer more valuable. On July 8, 2013, Yahoo shut AltaVista down. Visitors were redirected to Yahoo Search. There was no final mechanical breakdown, no dramatic server failure, no single moment when the old engine could no longer perform its work. The brand simply no longer had a purpose inside the company that owned it. By then, Google had become more than the dominant search engine. Its name had entered ordinary language as a verb. The market AltaVista once led had grown into the navigation system of modern life. That dominance can make AltaVista's achievement easy to overlook. Before AltaVista, searching the web often meant moving through directories, remembering addresses, or accepting shallow indexes. AltaVista demonstrated that machines could crawl millions of pages, examine their full text, and return answers with extraordinary speed. It turned scattered websites into a searchable body of information. Its failure was not that the technology lacked power. The failure was that the organization surrounding it stopped protecting the problem the technology solved. AltaVista's owners looked at traffic and saw the opportunity to build something larger than search. Google looked at imperfect results and saw more search work to do. The difference seemed narrow in the late 1990s. Over time, it became the distance between a discontinued brand and one of the most powerful companies in history. The story began inside a fluorescent server room, where alpha machines hummed while Scooter followed links through an expanding web. It ended with another machine, another index, and a nearly empty page. AltaVista had proven that the internet could be searched. Google proved that the company protecting the search box would own the doorway.